So, John, I think maybe both of us have had the experience over the years of someone not agreeing with your teaching. Maybe it's a visitor, but maybe it's some part of the flock, been part of the flock or something like this for a little while, or whatever the case may be. What do you do if or when that kind of thing happens? If someone says, "Hey, I didn't really like what you were saying," or have some issue or some problem, some challenge with what you're teaching, if you're trying to not just be a teacher but be a pastor.
Well, I think you have to reflect first of all and make sure that what you're teaching is true.
Right.
I think there is a valid criticism to teach things that you maybe heard many years ago, you never really checked it out, and and I think that criticism needs to be received immediately. I told a story one time in a sermon, and I got the gender wrong on the person that was healed. I said it was a daughter, and it was a son who was healed, and the man who was upset contacted me and said I had incorrectly taught the scriptures. And I realized at the time, or I used several examples, and I did make a mistake, and I told him I'm really sorry, I just messed that up. I didn't have that in my notes, and I got the gender wrong, and never saw him again. He never came back again. So I never got a chance to
Right.
teach correctly to him. To him, that mistake made me a false prophet.
Oh, wow.
So there's an issue of viewing teaching as the fruit. Teaching's not the fruit. Doctrine is not the fruit of a pastor's life. Doctrine is a deeper understanding, and we develop in our understanding of doctrine as the years go by and our familiarity of Scripture. We want to be good. We want to have good, solid, sound doctrine. But there are just so many areas of theology that we grow in and we learn as we go. That if doctrine is the measure, then there should only be a couple of pastors in the whole country, but it's not the measure. It's fruit. It's the fruit of our lives that are supposed to be the way in which someone can look at you and say, is this a ministry that God has me in? Is this one I can grow in? And it is by that fruit of a life. A pastor should have a stable life, should have a life that reflects being under the Word, reflects humility, humbleness, not triumphant, self-righteous know-it-all. And there are ways in which those characteristics come out in the fruit of a person's life. Their conversations, their actions, how they respond to others, how they respond to crisis. And there was a man a number of years ago who was very excited about ministry and very excited about our teaching here, yours and mine, and thought that he heard one Sunday morning a doctrine not spelled out correctly. And it was pretty much in the gray area between Calvinism and Arminianism. It's pretty much a once saved, always saved issue. Something that there are two sides to it, and you can argue either side. But the person stumbled because in his mind, that difference of opinion was bad fruit. So I realized since then and through the years that, Jesus teaching the parable of the sower, only 25% of the people have the good heart where the seed lands right and grows up. And I realize when I teach that there are people who want to understand, their hearts are leaning toward the Lord, but they're not in a place to understand certain things. And they only get a little bit. They only get a portion. They only get an insight or whatever. And I've learned not to worry about that. I've learned to let, faithfully teach, let the word sit on the heart of each person that hears. And if 25% of what's taught that's correctly goes down into the heart and starts to bear fruit, that's how it grows. That's how the word grows. And I've also come to realize that we all are so opinionated and messed up in our thinking that it's actually a wonder that God can get through to us. We actually can get triggered in an opinion and emotional and heated at the most basic truths of God.
Right.
And
so you're saying there can be like a reaction or disagreement from someone because they're not comfortable with the truth of the scripture or what the Lord's saying.
Well, that can happen, but most of the time it's not even the truth of the scripture. It's something inside of the person who's got triggered.
Right.
And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And when you're listening, what you can do is check your own reaction. Like, don't overreact to something that you just go, oh, that's not right. That's horrible. Examine that feeling first and make sure that what's horrible is what you heard and not what's inside of you interpreting it and going, yeah, this is kind of strange. So, the criticism's important. When people hear stuff and they go, hey, what you taught's not right, there's an important process that needs to go on. Somebody's going to grow out of that if the process goes on.
Right.
The pastor who taught it will be humble enough to say, oh, I was wrong on that one. Or the person who hears it is going to see that what I'm expecting out of this pastor is something doctrinal, but that's not what God's providing for me through this pastor. He's providing teaching and an example that I can look at and gain from, even though he's still growing in his understanding of what's perfect doctrinally or not. So.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, John.